It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Tzipora Schoonmaker, fellow Reicher, here in your beautiful apartment in Hanoth. And Tzipora, I'm so grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to hear your just the most incredible and Nissim stories. That is just your life story, which is just unbelievable. So if you could tell us a little bit about your background, your very special family.
Baruch Hashem that I'm here, that Hashem brought me here, that I can tell my story. It's all about a gift from Hashem, and the more I think of it, the more I feel Hashem's presence, His closeness, and He's always been with me, and for sure now and through all my years, and I'm so grateful and thankful to Him. And I also appreciate the deep concern that Dr. Les Glassman has in my story, and I'm sorry it took such a long time, but I knew one day I would be able to tell my story. It wasn't so easy, and I'm grateful to him, and I'm grateful to my friend Roz Kaganov, who's here, and she's too far away to hold my hand, but I know she's here. And years ago, I was in Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum, and in Yad Vashem, there's a room where children. It's a dark room, and the lights, and all the lights they talk about their names of children, beautiful neshamas who are no longer here. When I was standing there, I just couldn't control myself, and for a long time I stood there, and the tears were flowing like water, and I said to myself, I could be one of those lights there, but Hashem, Baruch Hashem, had a different plan for me, and Baruch Hashem, I'm here to give over my special story. I was born to a very fine family in Poland, in Zakshevek, which was a place about 50 miles from Warsaw. It no longer exists. I saw it on a map in Yad Vashem. And it was a very peaceful community. The families were close to each other. People did a lot of chesed. My mother's Olive Shalom, her parents, my mother's mother died at a young age, and my mother took responsibility of the family. And her father was a butcher, and my father, Olive Shalom, came from Hasidic background, and everybody was very close. It was just families. There were about 800 families. It wasn't a big community. And I know they told me there was a lake there, and people used to go to topple their dishes. Everybody, we kept Shabbos. There was a lot of chesed, and people were very close to each other. It was a beautiful, beautiful life that everybody had, till the Machshmos came in. When they came in, there was havoc. I can't remember all these things because I was like 3 years old, but my parents related some of it to me, and other times they would talk to their friends and tell about the story. So I overheard all these things when I was already older. When the Machshmos came in, everybody didn't leave right away, but they emptied homes after homes after homes, and when When my parents knew people were evacuating, they were taking them, they didn't know where they were being taken. And when my parents heard that they were taking the people out of their homes and they're slaughtering them and the havoc that was being created, they decided they're going to leave. And near Zakshebek, there was a big forest. It was getting close to winter, and my parents, we were together. We escaped to the forest. And how do we exist? By berries and leaves and whatever. Whatever my mother could find. This is what we lived on. And it was getting so cold, and we couldn't stay outside anymore. It was just freezing. And my parents knew a Polish family that lived near the woods. So my mother decided we'll go try to see if they would take us in. But they and by that time, my body was almost frozen. And the family, we knocked on the door and the family took us in, and they put us, and by that time my father already, somehow we got separated, and he was in a, after that we didn't even know where my father was anymore. I was with my mother, Olive Shalom, and we went into the family took us in, Baruch Hashem, and they had like an alcove beneath their kitchen, and this is where they put us in. And I was a child, and my mother said I almost had to be defrosted because I was so stiff. And also, people say, "Why? How come you don't remember all these things?" Well, I was gagged. I wasn't allowed to speak, because if I made a noise, it could go outside, and if I cried, it could go outside, and the mashmos would hear right away. So, but my mother, I guess, put a towel in my mouth, and we hardly existed. This arrangement didn't last for too long, because the family got, when they heard the Nazis were going into Polish homes, they were finding Yidden, they would execute, they would shoot them as well. So the family made us leave, and we didn't have any place to go, so we went back. My mother took me, and my father was in a different place already. And my mother took me we went back to Zakshebek, and then the Makshimos took us, and they put us into the camp. So the first camp that we went to was Bujin. I don't know exactly where that is, but and I was in that camp with my mother for about a year, and I'll tell you, I don't know even. It's so obvious that it was Hashem's hand holding me all the time, because otherwise they took as soon as they saw a child was useless, was worthless. They didn't have any need for children, so they took them and they shot them right away. And Baruch Hashem held my hand, and if I guess when there was a lineup, every day there was some kind of lineup, because they were counting who was there and wasn't, and somehow I disappeared. My mother didn't know. It was morning, and I was just wandering around, they couldn't find me. So when the lineup was, they couldn't find me, so then they couldn't take me out and kill me. And at night, my mother found me again, and we were together. And sometimes my mother had a good position. She worked in the kitchen, so they gave her. She was able to sneak food out, and she was able to save a lot of people. She was able to save a lot of people because she gave them a little piece of bread, a potato peel, whatever. A sugar was a cube of sugar was like a real luxury. And so sometimes at night when she found me, she gave me a little bit of to eat because I didn't have anything to eat. I was just wandering around, and so a person can, you have to see Hashem in everything, because how else would I have survived? And they did the lineups every day because they were counting people, and this went on for a long time. I'll tell you, I don't know myself. I'm surprised myself because I don't know how if not Hashem, there would be no way that I would be alive now. And from Bujin, they took us to Majdanek. They said, Majdanek, nobody gets out of Majdanek alive. And Baruch Hashem, my mother also had a good position there. My mother also was a very, very pretty woman. So they were more, I can't say friendly, but they put her in better places. So the same thing existed in Majdanek, that also with the lineups, this one goes here, this one goes there, and I guess I was so little, I had a special sense that Hashem put into me, because they could never find me. They didn't see where I was. And the day also, when they did the lineups, the same thing. I hid, and my dad was a lot more stricter, and my parents said it was cold, it was winter, and when we went into barracks, you couldn't even sleep. It was so cold, and the horror that was there was the gas chambers. Someone when they read my interview, they said, you were Majdanek. They said that Majdanek, Majdanek was a lot worse than Auschwitz. I mean, Baruch Hashem, I wasn't in Auschwitz, but and Hashem saved me, and I don't know I can't tell you all the details because I lost the sense of speech. I lost the sense of direction. It's just that Hashem led me wherever I went to. It was Hashem who took me there, and the Allies were approaching, and they took whoever they could take. They took to Auschwitz. At that point, my mother and I were separated. After that, I didn't see my mother. They took her to Auschwitz, and then I found out later that my father was in Auschwitz already, and because the Germans heard that the Allies were coming, and the Russians were coming into the camps, and when they cleared out the camp, like they found maybe a few elderly people and about 6 children. So they put us on a bus, and the bus, they were taking us to a forest to be killed. And Baruch Hashem, the Russians were coming, and they collided with. This is what I was told. The Russian tank collided with a German bus, and there was a fire, and Baruch Hashem, they took us out. They took all the people they could find, and that's how we were saved from Majdanek. And from Majdanek, they took us, I think, to the Red Cross, and the Red Cross put all the children in an orphanage in Lublin. Now everybody was separate. I didn't know where my father was. I was completely with Hashem, and I was in the orphanage, and I'll tell you, I don't even know what happened in the orphanage to me. I don't because I lost a sense of knowledge. I just did things by rote. It wasn't like I could think about things. So I didn't have so much pain about my parents because I just thought I was already by myself, and I didn't have parents anymore, and I just kind of existed. I kind of just existed in the orphanage, and Baruch Hashem, when I think the Americans the liberators came into to Auschwitz, a lot of people were saved then, and my father was one of them. So, and because I didn't know where my mother was, I thought already everybody was that nobody was alive anymore.
Tzipora, could we show a picture of you in the orphanage? I think it is incredible that
this is a picture of me in the orphanage. They said I was one of the tallest little girls. I was 6 years old then, and I'm holding a doll.
This is I'm just going to show for the viewers. This is.
Do you want to bring this closer?
Yeah. And here's a picture of all the children in the orphanage.
No, there were more children.
There were more.
But
this was in, I think there were two
ones
levels.
That they found in the here they were children. This magazine is from Lublin, where the orphanage was, and it was in 2011. And here's another picture of me, and they sent out this information for people, so people could find each other, and it tells something about me. It's all in Hebrew.
And Mina Halberstadt,
she was like the ain't bias there. She took care of the children, so she knew us, but I don't remember her.
And she actually wrote a diary, and she wrote in Polish, and she wrote about you, and she wrote that you were a tall girl, but you were very neat, and she wrote exactly what happened with the bus colliding with the tank, and that you were brought to the orphanage, And it's documented, and it's in her
Yeah, so
diary.
everything is documented. So, anyway, my father said he thought my mother wasn't alive anymore. He thought my mother wasn't alive anymore. I wasn't alive anymore. So he said, "What's the use to go back to?" And it was a very dangerous time to even travel. He said, "What's the use to go back?" And he had plans to. He heard other people were leaving for Eretz Yisrael. I think it was Palestine at that time. And he said, "I might as well. I don't want to be in Poland. I don't want to be Germany, and I want to go back to. I wanted to start a new life in Israel." And he was on a train, and the train already was close to Italy. And at that time, like I said, it was a difficult period to travel because they were still coming in and taking out the Jews. It wasn't a safe time. So it was at night, and he was almost asleep, and he heard some people talking, and this is what my father Al Shalom said. He heard people talking that there were children that were saved, and they're in an orphanage. And when my father heard this, he said, "I'm going to risk my life now, and I'm going to go back." And that's what happened. He got off this train. He got another train, and he came to Poland, and he heard that the orphanage was in Lublin. It wasn't so far away from Zakshevik, where we lived, and I think that this is where Rav Meir Shapiro had his yeshiva. In fact, I think Halberstadt's father, he was one of the mashgichim. I don't know.
He was one of the secretaries.
In
Chochmei Lublin.
Yeah, in Rav Meir Shapiro's yeshiva, and Baruch Hashem, my father came to the orphanage, and he looked around, and they said to him, "Well, what are you here for?" So he said, "I'm looking for my daughter. We were separated, and she was in this camp." I mean, he didn't know which camp I was. He said we were I was separated from my wife, my child, and now I came to look for my daughter. And so they said, "Okay, just look around." And he was looking around. He didn't see me. He looked at this child, and he said he almost fainted. And he looked at this child, and he said, "She's not here." So then he said, "Is there another place where a child could be?" So they said, "Well, there's an upstairs. There's another flight here. So maybe go to that flight." And when he came up, he saw I was sitting by the window and I was sewing. I was sewing something, and he recognized me, and I didn't really recognize him, I'll tell you. And he said fella. When he said fella, then something came into my head, and like I said, I'm your father. And when he went and talked to the administrators, they said that they didn't. He said, "I want to take my daughter. This is my daughter." They didn't want to take. They didn't. They weren't going to just let them take me. How do you know this is your daughter? So anyway, I have a special mark.
A birthmark.
A birthmark. And he said, "Look, she has a special birthmark," and they checked me, and that's how they let him take me. And in that and my mother was in a different place. She was she was sick. She contracted typhus, and she wasn't going to live. But Baruch Hashem, Hashem made a nace, and he brought her back, and families were reunited when someone was in a place. They would leave a letter or a forward address. So I was here. Abraham Yaicher was here, and I found a fella, and if you come, this is where we're going to be. And my mother also heard about Lublin, about the orphanage, and she came, and she was also like, she's not here, but they told her that when she described me, and she described my father, they said that they were here, and I don't know exactly where we went from there. Probably maybe back to Zakshevik, and in Zakshevik, when they came to Zakshevik, there wasn't anything there. The house wasn't there, and so we ended up in a DP camp till they took us to Germany.
Can I just ask, Tzipora, when you saw your father and your mother for the first time after being reunited, how was the emotion?
It wasn't like I at that point I didn't really have emotions. I was blanked out. I was blanked out from what
Trauma.
I went through. They asked me how come this, how come this. I wasn't emotionally aware of things. Things were just too blocked out, too deep inside of me. I felt my neshama, but my senses were like my senses were lost. I didn't really respond to things. So it wasn't like, here's your mother, here's your father, and like the scenes, like a special reuniting. Like I looked at them, like I don't really know so well who these people are, and it took a while till we were able to really see each other in a family setting. It was just too deep. So anyway, I was telling a few years ago, Mrs. Hannah Singer called me up, and she from the Geniza side. It's the equivalent of the Holocaust Museum in Bnei Brak.
The Gizah Kiddush Hashem.
In Bnei Brak, and she heard about me, and she interviewed me, and she was asking me all these questions, and I said, "Look, Hannah, I would want to tell you what really went on in my life, but after I was gagged." And after all the things that a little girl goes through, I couldn't remember things. I can't remember what happened to me. I don't know. I just don't know. Things were. I kind of just existed, and. She said, "Well, where did you go after the camps?" I said, "I don't know. I know they said I was in an orphanage, and I was there without my family, but I don't know really what happened to me." So she was very kind, and a few years later, she called me up, and she said, "Can I come and talk to you again?" I said sure, and she came, and again she asked me, what happened to you? So she said, well, maybe I can fill in the empty spots in your life, and she she showed me this picture, and I really broke down, because I said no, I didn't know where I was. My parents didn't talk so much about it. It was when they talked to somebody else, and I would overhear what happened. And Baruch Hashem, she gave me, she told me about my life that had blanks, the orphanage, how how she found out another woman, a friend of mine who was there for 74 years. We didn't see each other. We didn't even know we existed. But she knew about me. She was younger than I was, and she had a memory. She was able to tell things, but I couldn't. Sarah Perry.
Sarah Perry.
She called me Bella, and I called her Samsha. She was Samsha, but now she's Sarah Perry. And
she's in the picture. She's the girl next to you with the
right next to me with a doll. We were close friends, but I couldn't remember her either. I had no idea. And so they told me she was still alive, and she was looking for me, and I was very excited by this, because I said I had a friend, I didn't have anybody, and I had a friend in the orphanage. Somebody really cared about me, and when all this was happening with the camps, I was such a good situation with my family and the community, and then everything turned black, and all the years I was growing up in the camps, and I didn't have a doll, I didn't have a ball, I didn't have a life like I see my grandchildren and my children with your children, and look, from all this, Hashem gave me so much. All the years, the difficulties I went through, it just brought me close to Hashem, and that's worth everything. And Baruch Hashem, what Hitler tried to destroy, to bury, he tried to bury us, he tried to murder, he did everything to us, and Hashem saved us. And now, Baruch Hashem, there are 4 generations, Baruch Hashem, there are 4 generations of us, and my parents, Baruch Hashem, they lived to a long age. My mother at 99 years old, Baruch Hashem, we were living in America. She came to her great-grandson's chasana, and look at from the ashes, we came through to such simcha, and Baruch Hashem, I'll tell you, I have the best children, and the greatest grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I'm so proud of them. All of them are living strong Jewish lives. Everybody keeps Shabbos. Everybody is living a life of mitzvahs. This one is learning, this one's a Rosh Hashiva, this one is a doctor, this one's starting to be a dentist, this one's also a doctor, and this one is learning at the Mir. And everybody's doing it, and the grandchildren, they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful neshama. So Hashem gave me such a beautiful gift. So whatever I went through, it was all to bring me close to Hashem and to give me all the beautiful gifts that Hashem could give a person.
Wow. I just want to ask you, thank you so much. There really are no words. Tzipora, I'll be eternally grateful. But if I can ask, during everything that you went through, you always kept your emunah.
Look, when I was young, I didn't, I knew Hashem had to be there, because otherwise, how else would a baby like me exist in a places that more horror than horror chambers, and I'll tell you, when after the war, when we reunited already, and we lived in Germany, my parents lived a different life. It was just different for me, and I became very ill. I still had from the camps and from the emotional suffering, I was very ill, and they sent me to Switzerland to recover. And in Switzerland, I was living with a very, very frum family. In fact, when there was a daughter there, I remembered something. There was a daughter there, and she had beautiful, beautiful blonde hair, and she was getting married, and she had to shave off her whole head. So that's how this family kept mitzvahs. And I was so happy in that home. I'll tell you, and I blossomed there. I became healthy. I was there about 6 months, and then I went back to my parents, and I said, this, like, I thought to myself, this is the kind of life that I want to live, and Hashem takes us to places where so it's a story of Emunah. And now I'll tell you, I feel one with Hashem all the time, like a complete Emunah and B'tachon. And people say Emunah B'tachon, but they talk about it, but I feel like I'm living it every day. Like Shacharis, I'm not exaggerating, Shacharis takes me about 5 to 6 hours in the morning, and Mincha takes me another 3 hours. Wednesday, Baruch Hashem, I'm at the kotel the whole day. Tomorrow morning, that's why I almost didn't give the interview tonight, because tomorrow morning I have to get up like about 5:30, and sometimes I don't come home till 11:30 at night. The whole day I'm at the kotel, and what am I doing there? I'm davening for this one, I'm davening this one, I'm davening all the tefillah. It's like a life I have over there. I know the people, and they know me, and they call me Rabbanit. I'm not a Rabbanit. I tell them, don't call me Rabbanit. But they let me go to places where other people don't go. There's a place where inside the tunnels, the Kodesh Kadoshim. They take tours there. It's the most holy place in the whole world. And since the COVID, they closed that off. So women used to go there in the morning and stay there. Now they don't let anybody in. And I have a friend, and they didn't let me in either. I have a friend, and she her husband knows somebody in the government, and in the Knesset. So she went to tell her husband about me. They don't let me in. They don't give me a chair. And she came one day and she said to me, Tzipora, now you're going to be able to go into the Kodesh. I said, Kodesh Kodoshim all the time. I said, what do you mean? They're not letting anybody in, and you're going to have a chair. She said, I have a letter. I spoke to the people. My husband spoke to somebody in Knesset, and they have to let you in now. So sometimes I'm the only one there, and I sit there like tomorrow in Mirz Hashem. I have a whole schedule, and in the afternoon like about 3, I go in there and I stay maybe till about 7, till about 8. And sometimes I'm by myself, all by myself, and it's like I feel like a queen being there, like I'm so close to Hashem. It really builds my emunah b'tachon, and Baruch Hashem, we have such a holy place here in Eretz Yisrael that nobody in the world has, and we all have to make a point to go there and to talk to Hashem. And last week when I was there, a woman gave me a note. I don't even know what she said. She davened for me, and And people come up to me all the time. I have like a special life there on Wednesday.
But not only that, you also bake chalot and you help.
I know I used to do that, but when the corona came, they didn't want me to do the challahs. That was special to me too, because I wanted to do the bracha of Hafresh Challah. That meant a lot to me. But Baruch Hashem gives me a lot. I'm always on the move. I always have Baruch Hashem things to do. It's all good. It's all for Hashem. And the same thing with my children. My daughter, she wrote already 13 books. And Dr. Glassman knows my daughter.
This is Erica Brown.
Brown. And my son's a Rosh Hashiva here in Chappelle's. And my one daughter, her husband's been learning since they got married. They married already over 25 years. He's at the Mir, and it's a big schus. It's a big schus for me, and it's like I'm giving to Hashem whatever I went through. I'm giving. I went through, and I it's hard to you have regrets because so many people aren't most it's you can't even imagine how it's a figure you can't even picture. Now the young people, some they don't even know what a Holocaust survivor looks like, and I'm not so comfortable to go do the talks, but because I want them to know, I want them to see, so I just push. I'm not my children, my daughter-in-law, who lives here, Dina Schoonmaker. She talks. She has a big position in Bechala, and she gives talks all over. And I'm saying this because they're the ones that speak. I'm from the listeners. I'm from the back people. But because there are not so many of us left anymore, I feel Hashem wants me to. It's not easy, because every time you would think after all these years, 75 years, but every time, like I think when I had to be defrosted, that it's a painful thing to feel. So sometimes it's hard for me, and but Baruch Hashem, whatever He's given me, it's for my growth, and it's for I feel to help people and to see there's someone who went through and isn't going to the psychiatrist. They're not going to the psychiatrist. They're not on pills. Someone who's alive and wants spiritual growth and wants people to go in Hashem's derech and to live a life devoted to Hashem. And that's the greatest gift I could give somebody. No, I could give somebody another gift. I always say, if you want a special gift, just take off the day. Go to the kotel the whole day. Just spend the whole day with Hashem. You'll come away a different person. And that's how it started for me. I used to go 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then till I grew up, and now I'm there the whole day. It's an amazing thing, and it's all from Hashem.
Tzipora, I'm just going to show you sitting under the most incredible picture of your great grandparents, who were Gera
from their business of Hasidim.
It's amazing, and I just want to personally.
I would have thought I would have brought pictures from. Here's a picture from my father. This is the Hebrew version, because which I have no idea what it says. This is the Hebrew version of what Amit did, and I'll show you a picture of my father here. And here's a picture of my father with a Sefer Torah.
So special.
Here's another. We was on a train. It shows a train that was going to Italy. This is all people. This is what Hannah Singer wrote.
It's incredible. Tzipora, I just want to thank you.
And this is the orphanage. This is
a picture of the orphanage.
Lublin.
And here's your father with the Sefer Torah.
Yeah, here. Yeah. This occurred. I don't know. About 15 years ago, we dedicated a Sefer Torah for my parents. And before we did this, I went to a Rav to ask them. You know, my parents are this age. Should we just buy a Sefer Torah that's ready, or should we have it written? And they said, and this Rav went to an Adam Godel, and he said have it written. To have a scribe do the entire Sefer Torah, and you wouldn't believe. I never saw my father so happy as the day it was dedicated for yeshiva, for Rav Friedman's yeshiva. His yeshiva was at that time in Ezra's Torah, and it was like a magical evening. Like the whole community came out, and the children, and the singing, and at that time my father couldn't walk so well anymore, and they pushed him in a wheelchair, and a little bit he was able to walk, and it was like his happiest day. He was so happy. It was just with Hashem, and look, it's such a big beautiful celebration, and that's how we celebrated. I don't know which birthday it was, but the family donated Sefer Torah in honor of my parents. And Rav Friedman is now in Beitar. He has a yeshiva, Rav Yaakov Friedman, and they use the Sefer Torah there all the time. My grandson Akiva lives in Beitar, and he goes to the shul, so he sees when they take out the Sefer Torah. So that's wonderful. I wish it could be in Har Nov, but.
Tzipora, personally, I just want to thank you so much. There really are no words to express my deep, sincere appreciation, and to Rosalind, for you too as well, for organizing this. I just want to mention, this is the article that
Shira Smith wrote.
Shira Smith wrote, and here's a picture of you and the children in the orphanage. And Shira Leibovitz Schmidt, who I have a very good kesher with, she actually wrote this article, The Reunion After 73 Years, where you...
With Sapsha.
With Sapsha, and it's incredible because she remembers it, and she remembers you.
Yeah, she
so
remembers.
Well,
I had no idea when they told me there's someone that was your friend. I didn't even think I had a friend.
So here's a picture with you, and it was Sarah Perry and her.
Sarah Perry.
And you met after a reunion after 73 years.
74.
After 74. So Shira Leibovitz Schmidt, who wrote, and it was called Lublin.
No, but it was Hannah Singer who found her.
And she found all the information.
Hannah Singer did all the research.
And I want to also thank the Ginza Kiddush Hashem for what they did as well. But mostly, I just want to mention, I was very, very fortunate to go with my wife to Poland with Rabbi Adler, and we went to many of the camps. But Majdanek will stand out as the worst place that I've ever been to in my life, the worst place on this earth. And you see, it's the gas chambers as it was; it hasn't been changed, and the camp remains the same wood. Nothing's been renovated; it's as it was. and we all, there are no words to describe the horrors, and to think that you were there and you survived the nissim, the miracles.
That's right.
Your whole life, every stage of your life was an ace, and you are an ace. But
Listen.
Tzipora, I am extremely grateful to you, and we just wish you and your dear family all the mazel brocha and
Amen.
all of Hashem's blessings at May Vesrim. You are an inspiration to the whole of Am Yisrael and to everybody. You are really there are no words to describe who you are, and we are so extremely grateful, and thank you so much for doing this. I know it's very difficult. It's extremely
It took me
difficult.
all this time till every time I even thought tonight to cancel it almost. I said,
Well,
I said,
I will be eternally
I don't know
grateful.
if I can do it, but now I have to force myself to do it because I know the times are different.
But Ros, I'm so grateful to you, and
Ross.
Oh, not,
but
don't mention my name.
Tzipora, really,
Just be sure.
you know what you mentioned about so many of the things that Hashem was with you all the way. You know, you have such a most unbelievable emunah that it's so hard to, what you went through, you could have looked at life so differently, but you just embody everything good in Yiddishkeit and your love for Am Yisrael, and we are inspired by you, and we are so grateful to you. And I will be eternally grateful to you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, really.
And I thank you, Dr. Glassman, for this interview and your patience. It wasn't so. It took a while, but
No,
especially I'm
it was
so
worth-
grateful to Hashem. You have to start with Hashem, and you have to leave off with Hashem, because that's our life. Hashem. You have to see the good that Hashem, that does for you every day, every breath, every heartbeat, every step. This isn't such a big thing, but the other day I was eating a pomegranate, and I looked at every seed and the tissue between the seed. I said, and the color and the texture and the taste. I said, who else could create something like this except for Hashem? And you look at the sunset. I see it from my porch, and it's incredible. So also you can't not believe that like some scientists, they believe in this Mishigas and this Mishigas, but it's all Hashem. They're fooling themselves, and the closer we come to Hashem, and less internet, and less all the intrusions that are taking us away from the goodness of Hashem. I used to be on a bus years ago, and I used to see everybody opening Tehillim and saying Tehillim. Now I'm on the bus. If I sit with three people, they all have their phones. It's
Tzipora, I just want to mention, I'm in Beit Vegan, and I have the great zchut when I go on the bus and the train. A lot of the youngsters, a lot of even those going into the army, you see them with Tehillim, you see them davening. I saw today a woman on a bus davening. It's incredible. So there's a lot that...
there's two parts to it. There are two parts to
But
it.
thank you
Baruch Hashem, listen, we should all be davening, we should all come back, and we should all be learning and doing what Hashem wants us to do. And we won't have any, the Arabs won't be able to touch us, and the government won't be able to touch us. I don't even know what goes on, but people tell me things. And we'll be with Hashem. That's what Hashem wants for us.
It's such a beautiful message, and thank you so much.